Fast has been completed. How do I feel? Well, partly hungry, partly focused, and partly ready to go to bed so I can wake up next morning and have a pretty good egg-based breakfast. So yeah, that's what's going on currently in that body of mine. But I guess now that that fasting day is complete, we could go over how it affected me over the day. So let's go ahead and do that. So, the fast starts at 11:15 p.m. No, sorry, yes, p.m. last night. And so, when I got up this morning, it wasn't too big of a deal. I didn't feel really that hungry thanks to the beef that we had, the roast beef, the previous night, me and my mom. And so, I was fine. And then when I got up, I was told by my mom that she wanted to go to church quickly, so I decided to go in my car and move out of the way so she wouldn't be blocked by me. So when I was out, I got in the house, I went back to sleep, and I got up again. And when I got up, I remember I wanted some coffee. So I made some coffee. And then I went to my room and decided to watch the new Red Letter Media video about Spider-Man Brand New Day. However, right when I was about to hit the play button, my mom knocked on the door, let me know she was on her way to church, and then I said, "Oh, I hope you have a great day at church. I'll see you after work." Because I went to work today from 11 to 8 p.m. A early day, which I rarely ever see these days, which was nice. So I told her goodbye, told her that I love her, and then she left. And after she left, I started watching the Red Letter Media video, and they just went normally with their videos. They have a little humorous wrapper at the beginning and the end of the video, where they basically talk about, or not talk about, but they have a sort of skit they do. But in this video, they just immediately jump straight to the review. I guess they didn't feel like coming up with a skit this time. But one of the most interesting things they said about the movie was that it felt like it looked like a real movie. And the reason they said that was because the previous Spider-Man films that had come out by Robert Watts, I think was his name, those used extensive green screen because apparently they shot a lot of scenes where actors weren't in on the same day or had different schedules, and so they had to put green screen them in post in order to get a final shot. And so it ultimately causes these movies to look very flat. And apparently this new Spider-Man movie had more depth in it because the lighting just looked more dramatic. And I guess they did get a new director for this movie. It was the guy who directed the movie Legend of the Seven Rings, I think. I'd never watched that one, so I don't really know anything about it, but all I know is that it's a new director, and I guess he likes shooting things on set rather than shooting things in separate rooms on green screen. So that's nice. And they said that they enjoyed the movie as much as they did like the Raimi movies. And they were going to get into spoilers. They were going to talk about the main villain of the movie. And, they sold me on it when they said that it looks like a real movie and that it reminded them of the Raimi movies, because I love the Raimi movies. They're childhood classics of mine. I watched those films a lot when I was a kid, and I really loved them. And I still love them. I think they're great. So when I heard that, I was like, well, I guess I better pause this video, put a bookmark in it for later, and watch it after I'm done watching the movie because I don't really want it spoiled now because my expectations have been raised. So that's exactly what I did. And after I paused it, I was thinking to myself, what can I do instead? I was trying to think of what I could do. And then I remembered I was going to continue working on my SpongeBob storyboard study. So I decided to grab my notebook, which sadly I actually left at work today. So when I left to go home, I guess I was really in a rush to get home, but it's in the break room at work right now. So yeah, I don't have it to show you, but I started doing some doodles. I basically was copying the storyboard by looking at and drawing it by hand to try to get a better understanding of how the artists in SpongeBob told their stories, like framed the shots, and made them as visually engaging as possible. What I learned was like expressions are key, um, like just perfectly timed with solid body, motions that sell the plot. And also another thing I learned was, try different shots, try different angles because those can really cement the story in your head. So yeah, after I had started drawing out some frames, I then realized that the time was getting late, so I needed to get ready for work. So I got dressed. I created a electrolyte and salt water mix in my 32-ounce water jug, and I shook it up and left for work. Drove off. I punched in for the day, greeted everyone, um, and then went upstairs, used the restroom in the break room, or break room, restroom, you know what I mean. And then after that, I went downstairs, looked at the schedule, found out that I had lot for the first hour, so I did lot. It was super hot today. Um, and I was like, oof, I'm boiling. This is crazy. And then randomly there was like one customer like who was like I guess they work as a courtesy clerk at another like location too, but I greeted them and then they said, yeah, like I try putting on sunscreen, but it doesn't work out. So, I put on these long black sleeves that like are supposed to keep my skin from getting burnt or, and cool as at the same time. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, that was something that happened. I pushed the carts into the corral, and it lasted quite a while. One of my coworkers came in to replace me afterwards. I went into the store, and then the next 3 hours was just bagging for a really long time. With of course the break in the middle being used to go upstairs and do some breath work, then coming downstairs and continuing to bag. Any jokes? Any memorable moments? Um, I guess there was one moment where a customer got like I helped some ladies out to their car. That was cool. Um, there was a customer who usually comes there. They work for a driving delivery company, and they get food. But one of the foods that one of the things they got, which was a Pepsi wild cherry, Diet Pepsi wild cherry container. It just randomly exploded as they were about to leave the parking lot. So I came in, I put it in a bin. They got a new one while I was, cleaning up the mess. And then after that, I you know dumped the broken cans after opening the box and put the rest of the cans in our cage area so they could get store credit. And then I met one of my coworkers who I don't really see a whole lot because they give us completely different shifts from each other. And they were showing me some pictures of their pet Chihuahua, and the Chihuahua looked super cute. Like apparently the Chihuahua was eating like ribs and it was like, and it was it kind of looked like a live action version of Ren from Ren and Stimpy, but way cuter than that. Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's what happened there, and it was fun. Yeah, really cool. Oh, and I remember another joke where, as that coworker was leaving, who works in the produce area, um, they said something about like, yeah, smiling in the front must get tough, and then I said, yeah, but you're able to flex your smile muscles, and then they thought that was funny. I was like, and they asked me, how do you do that? And I was like, and they laughed, and that was pretty hilarious. And then I said, yeah, I do it so much that I'm starting to see six packs right on each cheek, and then that made them bust out. So that was pretty funny. I liked that. I think they liked it too. It was cool. And then, um, yeah, there was like another part that happened earlier today when a person got like some orders and the bottom of their cart, and like they left and then they stopped and asked me, hey, did you the lady scan the orders at the bottom of my cart? And then I said, I don't know, I'll check. And I asked, they said, you told me about that, you should have said you yes already. And I was like, oh, oops, I guess I forgot. And then I joked around, I guess I'm getting dementia at age 27. Like, no, don't say that, that's not funny. I'm like, oh, I guess not. That's very serious. Sorry. So yeah, that's something that happened. Um, Anything else? My lunch break, I couldn't eat, so I had to drink water because I was on my fast. Um, I asked for a day off later in the month because there's a family reunion happening that day. So, I punched that in to make sure that that would be sealed. And then after that, I pretty much just was like looking at videos of people reacting to Sony's decision to not back down on getting rid of physical media. And yeah, people just were in an uproar. It was crazy. Lots of no discs, no buy. Lots of if pirating ain't owning, then buying. Wait, no, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. Things like that. Yeah. Um, but I can tell you this much: I definitely, if I ever decide to get new gaming hardware, it's going to be PC hardware because at least you have the freedom to actually own DRM-free version of your games and not have to worry about a big corporation forcing you into a walled garden ecosystem where they can crank up the prices as high as they want because they don't have to worry about competing with the used game market. Yeah, people say, "Oh, I don't care. That doesn't matter to me." And wait till it does. Then you'll be sorry. It's not going to be good. Too much power for one corporation is always a bad thing. Always. So yeah, I watched that. Then after that, I was watching the storyboard to that SpongeBob Dying for Pie episode, trying to draw the frames on my notebook, trying to describe why I think they work so much. Getting sidetracked and like asking about why did Steven Hillenburg choose lobster trap for the Krusty Krab, and apparently he didn't explicitly say why. He just said, I made a lobster trap for the Krusty Krab, and that's to the extent of what he envisioned. So fans have their theories. They think it's, well, since it's something that traps crabs and it's supposed to trap customers in so it could take their money. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that was a little tangent I got onto before going back to trying to draw the frames. After my lunch break was over, I went downstairs. I looked at the schedule, went out on lot again, brought in carts. It was so hot on that hour return, like, woof, it was rough. And then this was around the time when my hunger pangs were not like overwhelming. It was just like obvious that there wasn't food in my system, and I was starting to get a little bit fatiguey. I was able to, push through it though because of my electrolyte water, and that was giving my brain the fuel needed to keep going and to avoid things like headaches and fatigue. But I definitely did feel heat fatigue. On top of not eating anything. Yeah, it was a little tough, but hey, I muscled through it. And then 2 hours of bagging, and after that, I mean, nothing really interesting to say about those 2 hours. Just mostly kept quiet and continued bagging. I guess my wrist was kind of hurting throughout the day, probably from lifting heavy objects all day long. So that's probably not good. And then after that, I remember going on my last. I was doing like a go back. One of my co-managers asked me to wipe down some check stands for a coworker before leaving, but I also had a lot on that hour as well. I also had to bag for these customers, so I just tried to wipe down at least one check stand. I got that out of the way. I was wiping half the check stand, but then I realized that the time was growing short because I was dividing my attention between bagging for customers, wiping the check stands, and then needing to do lot. And lot was like starting to go a little crazy, so I had to go outside, do lot. And I was able to get it mostly completed, mostly completed. And then it was time to punch out for the day. And so I punched out. I said goodbye to my coworkers, and then I drove off home. And when I arrived home, I was greeted by my mom and my sister. And yeah, my sister was going through something with, or sorry, my mom was going through something with my sister, and I was just chilling out. Yeah, then my mom asked if I could get some sodas for us, so I got some zero sugar, 0 calorie sodas. We drank them together. Family friend came out to say hi. Made some chips and guacamole for my sister. We declined to eat because we were like, nah, we're fine. And then after that, I remember we were setting up our One Piece watch party, but we want to wait for my sister to come in, my youngest sister. So we were just like chilling, waiting, and then there was like advertisements on the TV, like Devil Wears Prada 2, and they were like, do people even care about that anymore? And so I looked up the box office, and for some reason the movie has 690 million at the box office. It did surprisingly really well. I'm not exactly sure why, because it's like a sequel to a mid 2000s like movie. I'm not exactly sure why like it's the sequel is still getting a lot of like inflow. I guess there's a lot of Devil Wears Prada fans out there. Who'd have guessed? It's one of those weird niche franchises that somehow still manages to perform. Interesting. But yeah, I texted my youngest sister, asked her if she was on her way. She said she was. She arrived. We greeted her, and then we began the episode. So we watched like 3 episodes of One Piece, and this is the arc where the fishmen are in control of, I think it's like Arlong Park. What's it called, Arlong? And basically, Nami is like got punched because she's essentially a slave to these evil fishmen. And so Luffy's like, yo, you made my navigator cry. You're going to get a what for. So he walks up like with a crew, and they're about to have a hoedown with these fishmen. And Luffy basically does some insane like kicking maneuvers, but then like they call on this giant cowfish to come in to end them. And the cowfish realizes who Luffy is like, no, I don't want to do this. This guy gave me a big old bop on my head last time. I want to leave. But then as he's leaving, like the shark dude's like, oh, you can leave, but you're gonna disappoint me. And so like the cowfish is like, no, I can't disappoint my master. I gotta stop this. So he goes up, he's gonna take down Luffy, but then Luffy like breaks like the concrete so he can stay locked in on the ground, and then he grabs the cowfish, and then he does a whole body twist multiple times. And then when he grabs the cow, he like, when he lets go of his twist, he like destroys all of the fishermen immediately, like by whacking them all with the cowfish thing and launching it off into the air. And after that, like, things seem to be going good, but then the shark, the captain, shark captain of the fishermen, decides to break Luffy off of the part he is on, but keeping like the concrete in his on his feet because he's stuck, and because he knows that Luffy would drown in the water because of his devil fruit powers. He throws him in with the concrete that he's stuck into the water, and he's basically in hopes that Luffy's going to drown and die. And so when he's launched off in there, and it's now time for the three sword guy and the cook to go in and basically take down these two fishermen who are guarding the path, because they excel at fighting underwater, and they're trying to lure those two guys into the water so that way they can finish them. But the dudes are like, no, we know what you're pulling. We're not going to do that. So they're going to essentially have a standoff against these two guys. But so we go into that, and the octopus guy is like basically trying to take, I think his name's Zoro, or was it Zoro? I want to say Zoro. I'm going to say the green guy Zoro for now. So he's trying to take Zoro out, and he's able to dodge all of his maneuvers, even though he's like this 6-armed octopus creature. Of course, Aesop tries to help by throwing like a projectile at one of the fishermen, but it just angers them and irritates them. He starts running after Usopp. So Usopp runs away because he doesn't want to get killed by the fisherman guy. And so as he's running away from the fisherman, and as Zoro is trying to fight the octopus guy, the cook is trying to kick the like the other guy is like big with like these webbed like arms and stuff, and he's not having much success either. And during all of this, the shark captain's just watching while smiling, like, hey, I'm the captain. Oh, I don't need to lift a finger. My crew does all the work for me. Ha ha ha. So, and then we cut to, Luffy is underwater and they're worried that he's going to drown. And so two characters from the village are like, we gotta save Luffy. What are we gonna do? So they try to go underwater to break the concrete, like two of the characters, Nami's sister and like the guy with the spinny hat thing. And he breaks like a hammer. He's trying to break the concrete, but he's unable to because the water's environment makes his hammer way too buoyant to cause any serious damage. So they have to think more clever like, and then they realize, wait a minute, Luffy's stretchy. We could just take his head, stretch his neck all the way up to the surface, have his head poking out of the water, and then one of us can go down there and continue to pump his chest until he starts spitting out all the water in him. And so they basically do that. It's hilarious. um, and during all of this, Zoro's able to, like, it seems like he's going to die by this octopus guy because he just suffered a serious injury in a few episodes earlier, which in the show's timeline is only 2 days ago. And he hasn't fully recovered or healed from his injuries. And so he's like in this state of like pain and like suffering, but he somehow still manages to pull through with his insane spirit and is able to like take this guy out really easily with like his insane sword moves. Like the octopus guy thinks he's playing like with his food, only to realize that like Zoro's a lot more powerful than he could possibly imagine. And he's able to take the octopus guy out. And so now the octopus guy is incapacitated. So now it's up to the cook character to and go save Luffy, because they're like, oh my gosh, he's been down there for too long. So he tries to swim down the water to get to Luffy, only for one of the other fishermen to be like, haha, you thought you could save Luffy, but little do you know that I am practically invincible underwater. And so he's like swimming underwater, he's like catching up quickly to the cook character, and like the cook character, he's got a really powerful kick, so he's thinking, oh, if I just kick the concrete that Luffy's on really hard, maybe he'll be broken free and saved from his demise. Only for the fish character to come in and like basically like punch him and crush him and all. Only for him to be like, oh, I gotta get out of here, I'm running out of air. And so like the cook character's swimming up really fast, but then the fish character's like, oh no you don't. So he grabs him really heavy or hard, and he's like, oh, I know that if I start swimming deep down really quickly under the water, the pressure from the water is going to crush your lungs and you're going to die. And so he tries to do that. And like, it does something to where like his like belly kind of presses in and like some blood comes out of like his mouth. And he's like, oh, you're still alive? Well, I'm going to try it again. And so he goes up, and when he tries it the second time, the cook character realizes that he needs his gills in order to, breathe underwater. But if you blow air into the gills, it causes him the fish character to suffocate. So he's like, oh, okay, we're going to play dirty then, eh? Well, let's play dirty. And he blows air, what air's left in his body, into the gills of the fishman, and it's able to save him and allow him to go to the surface. And while the fishman is now incapacitated, and he goes up to the surface, he's gonna take him out. But then like the Zoro, or not Zoro, but the Zoro wanted to go in the water, but he's in no condition to. So the cook character is able to give a good wallop to this this guy who's going to take him out, and knocks him out in their tower. And during all of this, it's very interesting. Aesop's running away, and he pretends to get shot by a projectile from the blowfish that was chasing him. The blowfish character fishman character. And so like he's laying on the floor. It looks like he's in a pool of like his own blood, but in reality, he actually has ketchup packets that he put in his chest for an emergency like this, so he can play dead, so he can avoid getting killed by an enemy stronger than him. So the enemy sees him. He thinks, "Oh, I guess he's dead," and so he walks away. But then Usopp remembers like the bravery and the power of teamwork from his encounters with his crewmates. Is like, this is such a cowardly thing to do, and he's just gonna go back there and take everyone out. I can't let that happen. So he basically goes up and he's like, "Oh no, you don't." So he shoots one of his projectiles at the fish guy, barely affects him. He runs up, he's gonna take him out. And then like he's hiding behind the trees, and so the fish character, like, he's in this pond, and he's like, "Where are you?" And Usopp throws like a bottle of like alcohol at him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, enough with these games." So he sucks up like the water in like this rice field he's in, and like he does this insane like explosion to like the whole area, like a huge atomic projectile, but with water from the fishman's mouth. And luckily, Usopp was not caught in the crossfire, but he saw how powerful this guy is, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?" And because his head's sticking out, the fish man's like, "Oh, I see you, you dingus! I'm gonna get you!" And so he starts like shooting like insane bullet projectiles at Usopp, and Usopp's like hiding behind the tree, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?" And so the fish guy's going up. He's like, "Haha, you thought you had me? Well, I'm gonna get you." And then Usopp's like, "Oh yeah, well, I just threw a bottle of alcohol at you, and you know what alcohol does when you put fire on it?" And he gets one of those projectiles. You get fried, and so he shoots him, and then he catches on fire. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting cooked alive!" So the fishman goes and finds like a field, uh, another rice field filled with water to go into, to not get cooked alive. And when he's like dives into there, it's Usopp's chance to hit him with his hammer, and he knocks him out real good. But then he gets up, and so he just keeps on knocking him over and over and over again in the head until like it's like a bunch of like swords all over, and he's just completely knocked out. So this causes Usopp to win that fight, and he decides to return back to the village, knowing happily that he's incapacitated one of the fishermen. He goes into a scene where essentially the the shark guy, he's had enough of these games, and he decides he's going to go up and take the characters out. But then Nami, she's very sad, but then she realizes, no, I gotta stand up for my village. So she goes up, and right when the shark character is about to take out like Zoro and the cooking guy, she's like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna take you out." And he's like, "Oh, you think you are, eh? Well, I'll give you a deal. I'll let you leave of your own free will, but I'm gonna take everyone out in the village, or I'll leave everyone. I'll spare everyone's life, and you can be my cartographer forever." And so she decides, you know what? I'm gonna go out with my village. So they're all like going to fight the shark pirate guy. But then, uh, he's distracted enough to where the cook's able to find his opening to go in the water to free Luffy. And the shark character's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta stop this." But then Zoro was like, "No, you ain't." And so he's gonna try to stop him with his three swords. But then, like, the shark character's like, "Oh, you're so weak. I'm gonna get you." And so he like, he Zoro tries to stop him like with his nose, but his nose like pierces him, and then like he holds him up. He rips his bandages off. His like wound is like all like gaping, and like blood's coming out. It's pretty intense. And he's like, "Oh, you should have been dead a long time ago. Well, how are you still kicking?" And then like one of the octopus characters, like he's like, "Oh, I'm still alive, and I'm gonna stop your cooking character from going in." And he's like, "Oh no, you don't. Remember when I took you out the first time? I said not to overwork yourself, otherwise you're gonna regret it." He's like, "Ah, phooey." So he goes in the water to stop the cook guy from freeing Luffy. And as the cook guy's going in, the the Nami's sister notices, and the octopus guy coming in, so she decides to try to save the cook guy, so that way he can free Luffy and save the village. And so she gets in front of the octopus guy, only for the octopus guy to explode, um, because of the water pressure and also the damage done to him from Zoro's sword fighting. And so this gives just enough of an opening for the cook character to kick with his most powerful kicks into the concrete that Luffy is stuck in, freeing Luffy so Luffy can be unleashed. He even shoots out a whole bunch of water that looks like a fountain behind the wall, and it causes the shark character to go like, "I don't remember a fountain being there." And Luffy springs forth from the water and is like, "Oh, you mess with them? You mess with my cartographer? You mess with me." And so then they get into this big epic battle where the Luffy's trying to punch him, and he breaks like the shark captain's teeth, only for the shark captain to grow a new pair and say, "Because I'm a shark, I grow teeth pretty much almost instantaneously, and there's nothing you can do to stop that." And so he keeps on taking teeth out, and me and my sister, we made a little reference to SpongeBob where he's like, "Oh, what about this, and this, and this? Well, what about this?" It was pretty funny. And then Luffy even decides to take one of the shark character's teeth that he left on the ground and put it in his mouth for some reason to bite the shark character, fight fire with fire. But the shark character is like, "Oh no, you think you can do that? But little do you know that you need the jaw strength that a shark has in order to get the full effect. Your jaw strength as a puny human is no match for me." And so Luffy's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" And so the shark character is gonna basically take a big old bite out of Luffy, and that's where the episode ended. Well, that's where the episode we watched ended. I just described 3 episodes that we watched together, and yeah, that was a pretty intense series of episodes. It was a lot of fun. It was absurd in a fun way, but also strangely dramatic and serious in a way that got me really into the story. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I give it 2 thumbs up. So yeah, after we're done watching that, my sister, middle sister, needed to go home, so we all sang our parting song with her. She left. I saw our female cat Autumn outside watching us, and I tried to get her to come over by saying her name and doing the to her, and she wouldn't come. So oh well. So yeah, when my sister left, we went back in the house. I decided to take some magnesium pills, for better muscle relaxation for sleep. Brushed my teeth and said goodnight to my mom and sister. So yeah. Oh, and depressing news. I looked in our bug cage early in the morning as I was getting ready for work, and I noticed that our mantis is sadly dead. So that's sad. Very depressing. R.I.P. Monte Mantis. You will be forever missed. So yeah, that's the day in a nutshell. I went here, I turned on the camera, and I started recording. So yeah, that's gonna do it for now. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.